Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues, we start briefing. Topic is law enforcement actions in the case of attacks on LGBTI activists during public events and the situation with SOGI-based hate crimes. Maksym Petrov is our guest. He is project coordinator on the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union on protecting the rights of the LGBTI community and activist Andriy Halay, professor, author of LGBTI police compliance monitoring methodology, Andriy Kravchuk, expert of LGBTI Human Rights Center Our World, and Shcherbatiuk, head of NGO Cherkasy Rights Center. Hello, I'm Maksym Petrov, project coordinator of the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union on protecting the rights of the LGBTI community and activists. Today, we are going to speak about research we've made and the results we were able to achieve. First of all, this is the report. I have it in my hands. This is expert opinion about law enforcement actions concerning protection of LGBTI rights. And this document is directed at counteraction to discrimination and to protect rights of LGBTI community. We took into account cases of violence against this target group, and we studied the actions of law enforcement bodies 2016-2018 were covered by our research, and we analyzed about more than 100 cases. We analyzed the actions of law enforcers during public events with involvement of LGBTI and also hate crimes. And we have expert, Mr. Kravchuk and Andriy Halay. So we should make some corrections in the activity, in the algorithm of actions of law enforcers, and the course of such actions we will be able to decrease the number of attacks and to decrease crime that is ongoing in our country and that we record. We may say that there are several directions for recommendations. These are legislation, communication, recommendations in the sphere of education. This is also about monitoring of the activity of law enforcement bodies. So we understood that the main, what can be changed. Finally, we should implement point 105 of the plan of implementation of the national strategy of Ukraine concerning human rights, because a lot depends on this. And experts identified that if we develop a single document concerning crimes and opposition to these crimes, that are based on hate, there should be a document adopted at the level of the government, maybe some strategy that would solve a number of problems. This would somehow provide understanding to law enforcers how to act in different situations. We proposed in these recommendations such things as to introduce changes to the Order of General Prosecutor's Office as of 2012, number 100, concerning statistics, and the statistics is not done properly, and we spoke about it with law enforcers. It is impossible to do because it is not envisaged by current legislation, and all our efforts to explain the need to work in this area together to make these changes to legislation jointly. They were not supported. And if we are speaking about communication, now there is lack of communication strategy, no strategy at all. Concerning cooperation in the sphere of LGBT rights, concerning holding events and informing about hate crimes. Yes, there is an algorithm of actions in law enforcement bodies, but there are many peculiarities. They are not obligatory, and this influences the actions of law enforcers and organizers and those who suffered from hate crimes. Also, we may speak a lot about education. We focused our attention and the attention of the law enforcement bodies that knowledge is lacking within law enforcement, national police, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, different departments concerning what is LGBTQ and what are peculiarities of perception of this community in society and communication with the society. There is no proper understanding what discrimination is and how to avoid discrimination in professional activity of law enforcement bodies. And we can correct it easily if we introduce some minor changes into activity and programs of training of law enforcers at different levels and at different stages. We found out that there is an issue concerning monitoring of actions of law enforcement bodies. We asked whether someone carry out internal monitoring of actions of law enforcement bodies, but we were informed that there is no such a task and there is no such function, no such activity. All they have is collection of information, then it is provided to statistics, and then they form information blocks on cooperation between national police and society, including representatives of LGBTI community. And we proposed the cooperation to jointly create such recommendations, and Andriy Halay will tell us more about these recommendations. There was no proper understanding that this is an actual issue in the modern life, and that this may contribute to the resolution of the problem. I won't take more time because we have interesting reports, interesting survey that we held. One part of this expert report and the biggest achievement of this project is the methodology of monitoring of actions of law enforcement structures concerning the rights of LGBT rights, developed by Andriy Halay. And later on, we tried to monitor for 2 months. We monitored the implementation of this methodology, and here we have participants of this monitoring. I would like to give floor to them. Andriy Halay. As Maksym said, I was involved in this project. I developed recommendations for police how to assess cases when the rights of LGBTIQ community rights are violated, and what should be the actions of the police in such cases, and how to assess objectively the activity of police, not to have subjective view because this is a sensitive issue and there are many controversial issues in this topic. I analyzed the situation and I decided to try. I am a scientist and I am capable to analyze the elements of the system. I analyzed the activity of police, and Maksym mentioned that there was some lack of understanding, there were some reasons, because there are some gaps in legislation, and scientists may deal with all these issues properly. So the activity of police, I know about this activity. I have been working for 20 years in law enforcement structures, and also I have been teaching during this time. I understand police officers, their views on different cases, especially in the situations of protection of human rights, especially in LGBTIQ cases. Also, I'm involved in Helsinki human rights group activities. One of the project is the project that assesses actions of local power, how the local power understands and implements the rights at a local level. This opened a new horizon in the process of decentralization. Not only police should be responsible for security in communities, also local power should contribute. And there should be some guards, some formations at the municipal level, some coordination, formations to protect order. We should not be afraid of this. Local power should show their interest in local security policy, and it includes the protection of human rights at the local level. So I decided to deal with this issue. This was a really challenging task. I quickly analyzed legislation and practice, the world practice, international practice. I revealed that there is no proper mechanism concerning this issue. We created a system for assessment to and there is such an index. It is called Municipal Index of Equality. It works in the USA, and it assesses the attitude at the local level, how people treat LGBTI community. And this index has two questions, two indicators that assess police activity. First, how police is involved and open to communication with this community, and the second, how police respond when there are threats or violations of concerning this community. So this provided us with the opportunity to analyze. We found the ways for police how to act properly, and we decided to create an algorithm to provide a formula. So the observers may provide objective information without his subjective views, without stereotypes and prejudice. So this was my task. So this is an algorithmic approach, and we pay a lot of attention to objectivity concerning monitoring, and that all the data provided by the monitors, they should be evidence-based. This is anti-skeptic mechanism. If monitoring structure says that there is bias, you may open the letters and what information was provided and whether the monitor was interested in getting positive information from you, and it should be all taken into account. And we've created an instrument based on this. Two parts of the instrument, and each of them has, they have 8 indicators, and we should provide response to them. And there should be a score or lack of the score. So these are not subjective views. This is a checklist, and the monitor may objectively put marks or put minus or put nothing if there is no information on some issues. I understand the actions of police in this area. I understand the situation. So monitoring is like a sea battle, and this is like a game. And the monitor verifies whether it worked or not. So we created an instrument. It provided its results. These were pilot monitoring, and this is a light version to reveal whether it works. I do not want to provide spoiler, and my colleagues will tell you more on this. And also, I will provide my opinion after my colleagues will tell you about this monitoring. I'm Andriy Kravchuk, expert of Right Center Our World. This is one of the oldest LGBT organizations. We have been monitoring for 20 years the rights of LGBT and to protection their rights in Ukraine. We deeply know the situation. We understand what is going on in this sector in our country, and I'm grateful to Andriy for this instrument that provides ability to objectively assess this information, to show to police and local power what they should improve to improve the overall situation. I would like to say that despite police does not believe this topic acute, this is a pressing problem. And we constantly monitor the situation when we see that the number of crimes against LGBTI increases in Ukraine, especially after the Revolution of Dignity. And we forecasted the situation and we got prepared to it because Ukraine becomes more liberal, more democratic country. People feel freedom, and the LGBTI community also feel freedom, and it becomes more open. And in conditions of homophobia, it results in the increase of conflicts. This is a complex problem. We should work with the government and with the society. What we can improve is the response of police and local power, and the increase of hate crimes we face, and the hate crimes that are usual. Domestic violence, we had all this before, and they continue to exist. What increased is the organized attacks of far-right groups at LGBTI community. We see that after 2014, far-right organizations, they put this issue on the agenda to fight with the LGBTI community in their country, and that there is no proper response from police. In some cases, the response of police is quite efficient, even too efficient. In case of well-known events during the March of Equality in Kiev, and we see that police is able to do it if they have such a name. But if the events are minor, for example, March of Transgenders in Kiev last year, or some meetings of LGBT organizations, some public events in provincial cities, then we see that police is passive in response. So only physical protection is available, but far-right groups, they try to cancel the events. They use physical violence and they make other actions, and police simply observe when they do it. So we have a person, the national coordinator or the national coordinating point at the ministry, and they gather information about hate crimes, different categories of these crimes. They analyze the register of pre-trial cases and the register of court decisions, and this data and unofficial data from NGOs are available on the site, and it shows that crimes concerning LGBTI, they are widespread in Ukraine, and the most widespread among hate crimes. But our legislation does not believe that homophobia and transphobia issues, they do not recognize such crimes as hate crimes. This is a systemic problem that should be resolved due to state bodies, because this is the responsibility of our government to elaborate a proper draft law, and the parliament should adopt it. It should have been done 2 years ago, but it was not done. And we can only hope that the new administration will have different view on this topic, and this will be corrected. For us, it was really interesting that there is a proper mechanism of assessment of attitude of police and the local government to LGBTI community, and we should have proper understanding about the situation throughout Ukraine. So the regions differ. In some regions, there are no public LGBTI organizations, events. That's why police and local government do not have proper response, because there are no actions. And about aggressive attacks on public events, the situation is different. So for pilot project, we got 4 cities. There are public events, public life, and police should respond. Kiev, Kharkiv, Kryvyi Rih, and Zaporizhia. And we have intuitive understanding concerning the situation. That's why it is really pleasant that this objective assessment coincides with our understanding. The best situation is in Kiev. This is the leading city of Ukraine, and here we have a vibrant LGBTI life, and we have good contacts with Kievan police. The same with power of the city. And we continue our work in this direction. The organizers of the March of Equality, they actively cooperate with the Kiev State Administration. And in big provincial cities, the situation is not so good, like Kharkiv and Odessa. There is life of LGBTI community, but the situation is different in police and local government. There is no proper response to these issues concerning LGBTI and our society in the whole. So in Zaporizhia, the situation differs. In Zaporizhia, there is an organization, Gender Z. It holds a lot of LGBTI events, and local power knows about this organization. They do not help, but they do not harm. Local police got accustomed to such events, and Gender Z was able to establish proper cooperation with local police, and now they do not complain on actions of police concerning protection of their public events. Everything is done perfectly. About Kryvyi Rih, my colleague will tell you more about it because he studied the situation in the city. So the assessment of objective situation coincided with what I expected from this project, and I believe that this will be useful in our work, not only in organizations, NGOs, but also it will be of use for our state, for our local government. I am Taras Shcherbatiuk. I am the monitor who held monitoring Kharkiv and in Kryvyi Rih. It is worth noting how we carried out this monitoring. First, we studied the information that was provided by local power and the main departments of the national police in Kharkiv and Dnipropetrovsk oblasts. Moreover, we communicated and we studied information provided by our World NGO because they monitor the situation concerning crimes, including hate crimes, and we held content analysis of the police and local power websites. Also, we tried to find out information through Google, and we searched information in order to support or reject the answers to the questions that were put in our research. First, I would like to say about statistical information. Out of 30 questions concerning Kharkiv, we were able to provide 5 positive scores, and Kryvyi Rih only 2 positive scores were provided. And we didn't have a lot of scores because based on the answers we were provided with the departments of police and local government, and based on information we found in open sources, this is objective. Andriy Halay told us that we provided the objective opinion because the questions were put in such a way that we could provide only yes or no answers. About my impressions from monitoring, the main department of police in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, unfortunately, they didn't provide information on our request. That's why, in accordance with the conditions of this research, we put 0 scores because we couldn't find this information in other way. And in Kharkiv, the situation was better. The information was provided not only by the main department, but also by the local departments. And we were able to study this situation more thoroughly at the level of the city and at the level of the oblast. About statistics and reporting from police, and neither in Kharkiv nor in Kryvyi Rih, they do not have the statistics, and the Department of Police didn't report on the crimes and the process of investigation of those crimes that were recorded. About qualification of the crimes, according to information that was provided by our World NGO in Kharkiv, they recorded 8 cases of attacks on LGBTI and activists, and they were qualified as hate crimes. And according with the information provided by the main department of police in Kharkiv Oblast, in 2017-2020, they recorded only 5 such cases. These crimes were recorded and qualified, but they were closed because there was no proper basis for continuing persecution. About the quality at local government, only in Kharkiv, there is an organization that deals with issues of equality. They protect the rights of people who suffer from HIV/AIDS. But LGBTI organizations, they are not on the public councils and police commissions. About participation of police and local power in awareness campaigns, we should note that we reveal information only in Kharkiv, where in 2018 representatives of local council, they participated in a forum in one training session, and we provided a score for this, but on the whole this work is not satisfactory and it needs to be improved. Concerning the issue of appointment of responsible people from the national police at the level of oblast and from local power, representatives who are responsible for addressing these hate crimes. We have information from Kharkiv City Council. They appointed a person. She is an advisor to the head, and she deals with this issue. On the whole, we see that in the cities, the communication between police and organizations of LGBTI is at a low level, and this should be improved. And I believe that here we have a problem not only within police and local bodies, but also I believe that those organizations should be more active and establish more active cooperation with police to enter the councils and to be more active at the local level. Thank you. I would like to add, I believe that Taras was right, especially at the end, that the monitors have shown, and this is the only indicator that didn't work, whether there are disciplinary proceedings, if police officers made some unethical actions concerning the group of LGBTI people or activists, or whether there are requests for protection of rights and requests to enter those councils and to influence police commissions, to influence the policy. We saw that NGOs in those cities, not in small settlements, and these activists may be not just from these LGBTI organizations. Any vulnerable groups, organizations may also participate. For example, those who protect Roma rights or HIV/AIDS organizations. And for example, Zarya of Luganshina editor, he is not the representative of this organization, and they said, but he is not the representative of this organization, police said. So the reforms that are ongoing, they allow us to do this, and we have objective approaches. We saw the elections at the level of councils, and about actions of police and local power. Here we may say that all the mines that were put in monitoring, they just, so let's say, exploded. The police officers say, why should we collect statistics? Why should we report to community? What else they've said? They said that local councils said that they are not responsible for security, that this is a responsibility of police, and they do not have proper representatives concerning the issues of security or concerning communication. So these are the biggest cities of Ukraine. These are not some minor settlements, and there are community. There are those who protect LGBTI rights, and people communicate with them, and this means that police does not want to deal with these issues. They just don't do this. And Taras mentioned the response. When local power of Kharkiv, they carried out analysis, and they said that they have the worker who is responsible for this area. What we saw, she attended several trainings, and she was provided with some training. And the representatives of mayor's office, they participated in some events concerning this topic. So, to these factors provided us with information that they do something. So, our police officers, they should be tolerant, and they should take care of vulnerable categories. They just should implement what is written in our legislation. So all the information, links, photos, scan copies of responses, they are in the reports concerning the 4 cities, and in the final report, and you will be able to find this information. So about percentage. And that would show that police activity should be improved. If we take 100%, for example, I carried out many monitorings during recent years, and we believed that we may put 60%, and the best result is 24, and this is Kiev, and Kryvyi Rih is 7% out of 100. So 30 parameters got 2 scores. What it means It means that the system should be improved. There should be systemic changes. So the legislation should be implemented, because police, they just do not want or do not know how to do it the right way. When the monitoring was developed, I clearly understood, and I have this position now, that the head of the police of the local level, this is not the head of Kiev police. We have different heads of police in different regions of the city. So they should go on site and deal with the issues. Because in domestic violence, they did it. The police now have a better attitude to domestic crimes. So reports that we saw, and it was interesting for me to see it, the ministry developed a report, and they used it not as best practice. Police use it. They just use it as template to put figures in. They do not. They don't take care of the content. They just fill the form. And each city, and Kryvyi Rih, we saw this form. And in Kryvyi Rih, it is the worst. And we should improve this activity. The second aspect I wanted to mention, our algorithm of assessment is not only about assessment. Simply speaking, in science, this is analysis and synthesis. First, you should divide it, then you should collect it, but in the right way. So this is disassembly and assembly. And we should analyze what is right and what is wrong, what should be done in order to make it right. And each of the point of assessment, it is accompanied by recommendations provided by monitors who use best conclusions, best practices of domestic and foreign analysis, and police may use this instrument, and they may do it right. They should just want to do this. Maybe Maksym will add something. I would like to note this paper and the results of the monitoring will be available on the site of Ukrainian Helsinki group. This document is available, and final results of monitoring and intermediary stages for each city, they will be worked on, and as Andriy said, and there will be photo scans of responses and other information on monitoring, and they will be put on site with a separate news that this information is available. Now this is all from us. Do you have questions to speakers? If there are no, Sergei Tsegipov, local news outlet. Please tell me, do you record in your monitoring only the facts of physical attacks? And if we have cases in information area, I will explain. On the last day of electoral process, on the day of silence, a letter was sent, and one of the candidates was discredited, and the information was provided that the representatives of Lgbti should not take part in electoral processes. They should not be elected. Yes, we monitor such things, and we held analysis, and we have it in our research. I mean, in the information of our center, of our world. We record all violations of the rights of LGBTI community, not only hate crimes, but also incidents of hatred and minor violations and hate speech. Some cases are not punishable. Some hate speech, and this reveals the attitude of some part of community towards LGBTI people. I would like to provide some statistics. Last year, we had 350 cases. Out of them, 111 were hate crimes and 9 cases were hate speech crimes you've mentioned. So you may provide this information to us, we will record it, and we will provide this information to police. We provide information to police and to OECD, and there is information from police and from independent monitors, international organizations concerning hate crimes, and based on this information, the police record the cases that are in the criminal code concerning nationality, religion, and other crimes. And if you look at independent observers, hate crimes are more connected with the LGBTI issues. One of the indicators of monitoring is the issue how the comments were provided, how the official position was provided by police officers and by local power. And one of the criteria is the communication with local organizations who deal with this topic, because they know better what is going on there. And we asked the organizations, and they provided this information to us. And we read the reports and verified the results. The March of Equality in Kryvyi Rih was rejected because of the security reasons. They didn't declare that openly, but when the journalists asked the police what they think about it, can they provide security? And the police didn't want to comment on the situation, and this reveals how police respond, and they should provide peace and security in the territorial communities. I would like to add several words about police protection for LGBTI events. There is an organization, Lgbti, the biggest LGBTI organization in Europe and in the world, and this is part organization, member organization, and they each year assess the level of homophobia in the countries of Europe and the level of legislative protection for LGBTI. And in this index, Ukraine looks rather good. We have better indicators than some members of the European Union, as Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, and Poland. We have the same indicators concerning legislation as in Poland. If you look at index of homophobia, Ukraine is not too homophobic country, and we have better situation than our neighbors, not only northern and eastern, but also some western neighbors. But when we speak about police practices, Ukraine is lagging behind, even from young and not so developed countries. but who are the members of the European Union. In Poland, the level of homophobia, like in Ukraine, and the level of legislative support is no better, even maybe worse than in our country, in accordance with the many indicators. But the police is effectively protect LGBTI communities. And in Białystok, there was a case of local football lovers, and you know that now xenophobia is on the rise in Poland, and some people attacked LGBTI activists, and in Poland they have more and more events. So local power was against this event, but police nevertheless provided protection of of demonstrators, and they protected their rights. Because they understand that LGBTI rights, these are the rights also of these are human rights. That's why they protected them. I would like to thank our speakers, and we end our event.